Hello everybody, welcome back to Steven's Fight Show. And first off, I hope everybody that is watching this video is having a fantastic day. If not, then I hope your day gets better. So Teofimo Lopez is set to have his comeback fight after losing to George Kambosos a year ago. He is fighting Pedro Campa on August 13th, and by the time this video comes out, his fight is scheduled tomorrow, I believe. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to give you my official prediction of how I think this fight is going to go down. I have not done an official fight prediction video on this channel at all, and usually I do breakdowns and analysis, but I think it would be fun if I can make a whole video dedicated of my prediction. And I'm just not going to talk about the prediction in this video. I think that's kind of boring. I'm going to talk about several different things that I think is necessary to Teofimo Lopez, and I'm going to expand on them and explain why I think they're going to be key factors to how he performs on Saturday. So first things first, let's talk about Teofimo's recent loss against George Kambosos. Now Teofimo had the worst performance of his career against George Kambosos Jr. Worse than he performed against Nakatani, and I'll explain why. Teofimo had a long layoff after becoming undisputed or unified champion, whatever it was. He had a long layoff after being world champion. He was out of the game for about like a year or something. And during that time, even though he was staying fit and he was training during COVID, it looked like everything he accomplished got to his head. Since he was never active after winning the title, he never felt what it was like to be a champion truly. He had too much time off to enjoy becoming a champion, and he never fulfilled his role. He had the title of becoming undisputed champion, but he never proved it in front of anybody. And the thing is, it's not entirely his fault, because at the time, the fight was being made by Triller, which is...
I mean, let's be honest, guys. Triller isn't the most reliable company in the world.
Like, let's not forget, there were 5 schedule changes for the fight. It was originally supposed to be scheduled for June, and then eventually the fight was sold to Eddie Hearn, and it was made in November. But if we fast forward to the fight, let's talk about how Teofimo performed. There was a massive level of overconfidence and a lack of respect for Kambosos when they fought. Remember, the lead up was very personal between the two of them. In life, people tell you to act your age when you're not behaving right. And in boxing, that's what pretty much happened to Teofimo Lopez. He was the champion, but he came out like an absolute amateur with no respect, throwing bangs at Kambosos and trying to get him out of there early. It was so frustrating to watch as a fan because he looked so desperate in that ring. He kept chasing the finish and never kept his composure. In my opinion, the fight was pretty much over when George Kambosos dropped him in the first round. That was pretty much the turning point. And for the rest of that fight, Teofimo Lopez did not look like himself at all. The same fighter that beat Lomachenko when people thought Lomachenko was the best lightweight in the world, that fighter was nowhere to be found. He didn't do what he did best, and he just kept following Kambosos around the ring and loaded up on every single shot. He kept trying to look for the finish after getting dropped, which is bizarre. And he never once cut off the ring against Kambosos as well. When you look at his face after the first round, you can tell that he was already mentally defeated in that fight. And you can tell off of body language as well. Kambosos, he was smiling, he was moving with ease, he had so much confidence, he was jumping up and down in his corner. And Teofimo did not have the same look that he had when he fought Lomachenko. It was a man that got humbled before the fight even started. Now another huge issue during the fight was the corner of Teofimo Lopez. And specifically, I'm talking about his dad. The corner advice from Teofimo Lopez Sr. was absolute BS. When your son is clearly not performing the way he's supposed to, and instead of giving him valid technical instructions, you say stuff like,
"Get this man out of here already, what's going on?"
Like, that is just crazy. I understand that Teofimo and his dad have a special bond with each other like many other fighters do, but if he's not giving you proper instructions, then you have to let it go. There needs to be honesty here. There needs to be a snap into reality if things are not going into your way. In my opinion, I think he's better off having a real coach in his corner. We see so many fighters leave trainers for other coaches all the time in boxing. It's nothing personal, it's just business. And if you're a part of an industry that's considered the hurt business, you need the right people around you, otherwise things can get ugly for you. I personally believe that if Teofimo Lopez showed up right mentally, he would have beaten Kambosos, but who knows? Kambosos clearly performed very well. He was a massive underdog in the fight. He did everything that he was supposed to do. And Teofimo Lopez also had air in his chest as well. I don't think a lot of people remembered that, but after the fight, there were reports about how Teofimo could have lost his life by fighting with air in his chest, which is extremely dangerous, and doctors said that he could have lost his life. And thank God he didn't, because it would have been tragic. But still, none of that can cover up the mistakes that Teofimo made on that night. So let's shift gears for a second. Since Teofimo Lopez hasn't been active for a while since he lost to George Kambosos, everyone has pretty much forgotten who he is. When people mention the top lightweights in the world or the top 140 pounders, no one mentions Teofimo Lopez. The respect isn't there, and I kind of understand why. I mean, the dude broke out every single excuse in the bag when he lost to Kambosos. During the post-fight interview, when the interviewer asked Teofimo Lopez what his thoughts were on the fight, none of what he said was, "I lost fair and square," or "he was the better man tonight." But instead, he comes out and he says he won the fight 10-2. He even came out and said that the whole fight was a scheme to set up the undisputed fight between Devin Haney and George Kambosos. And even in a recent interview with Max Kellerman, he stated that he still believes he won the fight. And to me, that's mental, because it's one thing to not admit that you lost right after the fight, because people have to remember, when you're fighting, emotions are high, right? Even though fighters are taught to keep their emotions in check, sometimes they can get the best of you. And as a competitor, as somebody who's fighting for opportunities, fighting to put food on the table for their family, it makes sense and it can be acceptable when fighters can be ignorant at times. But after some time, if you are still in denial about your loss when you've had time to reflect, then that is just sorry. And like I said, as a fan, it's concerning because the dude is so talented, but his mindset is what's holding him back from achieving greatness in the sport. Mindset is so important, and it's one of the key things that create a champion. And so far, Teofimo Lopez has not accepted reality mentally. But despite all of that, Teofimo Lopez is still an extremely skilled boxer. Let's not forget anything that he's accomplished before losing to Kambosos. He beat Lomachenko when people didn't think he could do it at all. People thought he was just some guy who had power, and he was not going to be able to hang with Lomachenko for 12 rounds, and he wasn't going to be able to outbox Loma at all. And on top of that, Teo has had some amazing performances and finishes against many different opponents. When Teo lost, it was almost like he had gone under the radar and everybody had forgot everything that this man has done. But when he became champion, there was so much noise and hype around him, and sponsorships were surrounding him in so many different directions. And now it's almost like everybody is treating him like a regular fighter. And this is why Teofimo needs to not only win, but he has to have a great performance against Pedro Campa to put himself back on the map. He has to look impressive, otherwise nobody will ever give him any attention ever again. Okay, so let's get to the official prediction. Like I said again, Teofimo Lopez is a great boxer. I mean, at the age of 24 or 25, whatever it is, the skills that he possesses are amazing. He's a good pressure fighter, he has good power, he has good speed, good footwork, good IQ. He does have some holes in his game like his pacing, which can lead to cardio issues. But again, he's still young, he still has time to improve, so it's nothing to really stress over. He's also faced a number of great opponents as well. The people that were put in front of him were tough competitive contenders, and if you compare it to the level of opponents that Pedro Campa has faced, in my opinion, is not really quite comparable. If Teofimo comes right in this fight, I think he will be able to stop Pedro Campa, as I believe he is the better boxer. Teo has pretty much all the advantages in my opinion. He's younger, he's faster, he's more powerful, he's the better all-around boxer, and this could be an easy night for him as long as he does what he does. Meaning he comes forward, throw combinations, attack the body, and use the jab. One thing I would like to see from Teofimo Lopez is him being defensively responsible for this fight. He has shown that he can be there to get hit, and we saw it against Kambosos and even against Lomachenko as well. Against Lomachenko, he had the best performance of his career, and even though he won the fight, during moments of the fight where it was leaning towards Lomachenko, Teo was getting caught with a lot of good punches. And with his style, he loves to keep his hands real low, but the problem is sometimes Teofimo can stay too tall and be on the center line. I personally think it would be better if he can switch up his defense in the fight so he can create opportunities for himself to counter with the hard shot. As far as Pedro, he's a solid competitor at 140, but he's not a serious contender. Plus, if you look at the guys that he's fought, not a lot of them are worth mentioning. His last fight, there wasn't really anything special with him besides the second round knockdown. And it wasn't even like a setup punch. He just threw a big punch and he just dropped his opponent. He was also losing the first round of the fight as well. He was getting picked apart by his opponent until he got caught with a big shot. The funny part is, I don't think he stopped his opponent properly. I think his opponent broke his hand mid-fight, and that's why it was stopped. Nevertheless, my official prediction is that Teofimo Lopez will get it done inside 7 or 8 rounds. I think Teofimo Lopez will take the first few rounds to feel him out, establish distance, and as the fight goes on, I think Teo will find his rhythm and start landing punches to the head, to the body, and then slowly breaking Pedro down. Pedro might have his moments here and there, but I believe for a majority of the fight, I think Teofimo Lopez will control it. This is Teo's fight to win in my opinion, and he needs to send a message to this new division that he's a part of, that he's a force to be reckoned with. If not, things can take a turn for his career. And that is it, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening to what I have to say, and let me know, who do you think will win tomorrow, Teofimo Lopez or Pedro Campa? Do you think Teofimo Lopez can become a world champion in the 140-pound division? Drop a comment and let me know in the comment section down below. Now, if you guys enjoy content that is related to combat sports, please drop a like on this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That would be greatly appreciated. And other than that, it's been Steven, signing out. Peace.